Hi, I'm Marie. Welcome back to Marie's Kitchen. I'm so glad you're here. Today we are filming in Austin, Texas, live in front of a studio audience who's often asleep or not paying attention, but that's okay. I try not to take it personally. So today we're making pumpkin bread, and a lot of the pumpkin breads I see out there are really more like pumpkin cake in that they have equal parts flour and sugar. And for myself, for my own family, I kind of wanted something that was a little less sweet, a little less greasy, and maybe a little more nutritious. So that's what we're making today. It is dairy-free. It can be gluten-free if you sub in gluten-free flour, cup for cup. It has a zucchini, carrot, or apple grated in it, and it's less sweet and less greasy than most of those other pumpkin breads out there. It's also delicious. Truly my favorite bread of fall, and I can't wait for you to try it. Let's get started. To start, we'll need 2 cups all-purpose flour, or you can use half white, half wheat, or you can use the gluten-free cup for cup substitution. And to that, we're going to add 1 teaspoon baking soda and 1/2 teaspoon baking powder. Next is 1/2 teaspoon salt. And now we'll add our spices. We're going to start with 2 teaspoons ground cinnamon. And I know that sounds like a lot, but it really is really good. Next is 1/2 teaspoon ground nutmeg. And 1/4 teaspoon ground allspice. And finally, 1/4 teaspoon ground cloves. Now we'll give this a mix real quick, the dry ingredients. And then set this aside. Now for the wet ingredients, I am going to use my stand mixer. We'll start with 2 eggs. Next is 1 cup pumpkin puree. For the pumpkin, we're using Libby's pumpkin puree, and just be sure to use the pumpkin puree and not the pumpkin pie filling, which already has sugar and spices added. Next is 1 cup light brown sugar. And then we'll go ahead and give that a mix. Next step is 1/2 cup light olive oil, and you could sub in canola, vegetable oil, avocado oil, just something with a neutral flavor. You don't want to be adding a lot of flavor to the bread from like an extra virgin olive oil. So I'm using light olive oil, and it's 1/2 cup. Now I'll give that a quick mix. Next step is 1 cup grated apple, carrot, or zucchini. And I usually do zucchini just to make it feel like I'm eating a vegetable for breakfast, right? So we'll just cut off the bottom here, and then I'm going to use a hand grater, which is really easy. And we're just going to grate this until we have about a cup of zucchini. All right, that looks good. Just lightly packed. You don't want to pack it in real tight. Now we'll add our 1 cup grated zucchini. Give that a quick mix. You want to get your wet ingredients mixed really well before you add the dry, because if you mix the dry ingredients a lot with all-purpose flour, you're going to start to activate the gluten, and when that happens, you get more of a tough bread. So mix your wet ingredients really well, and then we'll add our dry ingredients to that. Whoa. Now we'll add our dry ingredients. It smells so good with all those spices. And then we'll mix this just to combine. Again, we don't want to get the gluten activated, which will make a tougher bread. Scrape down the sides one time. And then this pumpkin bread is almost done. For baking, you can use either a standard loaf pan or these mini loaf pans, which I love. These are paper, and I can put a link in the description box. They go in the oven, you don't have to grease them. I love to have these on hand. They're great for giving to neighbors or friends. Also, what I really like to do, instead of doing the one big loaf, if you do the 3 smaller loaves, you can have one out while you eat that one and freeze these 2 and then get these out later. Now we'll divide the batter equally between the 3 pans. And if you're using a glass pan or a metal pan, you are going to want to grease it to be sure this comes out easily. In these, you don't have to. And the batter is thick, so I just kind of smooth it out with my spatula here. Now this next part is optional, but I always like to add a little bit of raw sugar to the top. And it's just this, sugar in the raw. You can find it at the grocery store, and it's got a nice kind of crunchy finish and a little golden color. Another option is some chopped walnuts. Those are delicious on pumpkin bread. Or you could use chopped pecans. And when you buy them already chopped, it just makes it really easy to just sprinkle those on. Now these will go in the oven at 350 degrees for about 45 to 50 minutes. If you're using a standard loaf pan, that bakes for 65 to 70 minutes. Okay, while those are baking, I do want to tell you about 2 really fun activities to do with pumpkins that do not involve carving. The first one we've been doing forever with my kids, and it is so much fun. What you do is you take a pumpkin, a smaller pumpkin usually is what I like to use. These are called pie pumpkins. And you just cut the top off, but leave the seeds intact. Then you'll add a few scoops of good soil right on top of the seeds till you kind of fill it up. And then maybe a tablespoon of water, and then set that in a sunny place. And then every day you'll add about a tablespoon of water and wait and watch those seeds grow. The seeds actually sprout up through the soil, and you can see the life cycle of the pumpkin actually happening. As the seeds start to sprout, the pumpkin will start to decompose, i.e. mold. So you are going to want to set that somewhere where things can grow, in like a big pot or in a garden or just in some dirt somewhere, so it can decompose into the ground. And what will happen is the seeds will spread by birds and squirrels, and then you'll start seeing these little pumpkin plants sprout up in the dirt. And my kids always liked to go around when they were younger and point out where all the pumpkin seeds were, because you can see it's a really distinct little plant. In the fall, although we have gotten we get plenty of little sprouts and some flowers and leaves, we have never gotten a pumpkin in the fall. But in the spring, they sprout back up, and last spring we actually grew a pumpkin. It was so much fun to watch it sprout and then grow and then flower, and then there was a pumpkin, and we cut it and brought it inside. So I hope you get to try this one. If you have any questions, of course, just let me know. The other activity we like to do is decorate pumpkins without carving them. So you can do this at any time in October, because really once you carve the pumpkin, it only lasts a few days. So I love to have these other options for decorating pumpkins that don't involve carving. So the first one is, we'll get a white pumpkin, and you could do this with an orange pumpkin too. And again, we usually do the small ones, but any size will work. And then you'll just need some little plastic spiders and a bag of cobwebs. And you can get these probably at your local craft store or online, I'm sure. I can put a link in the description box. Then you just take a glue gun and glue your little spiders to the pumpkin, all around, as many as you want, and then string the cobwebs around those spiders, and you have a spooky cobweb spider pumpkin. The other thing that's really fun is to take an orange pumpkin, and you'll need some kind of sports tape, medical tape. I like to get the 1.5 inch or 2 inch size if you can find it. And then what you'll do is just take that tape and wrap it around the orange pumpkin like a mummy. And you leave a little space for the eyes. And then for the eyes, we use these little googly eyes with some hot glue. And you can just glue those right on in the little space that you left between the tape. And there is your mummy pumpkin. I hope you get to try these. If you do, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. While those finished baking, I did want to show you 2 cute ways to wrap these up if you want to give them as gifts. And these are some frozen pumpkin breads that I had already in the freezer. So I just pulled those out. This one's a little frosty. Now what we're going to do is just take a piece of wax paper. I use these for sandwiches. And then just fold that in half, and then fold that about half again. And then we'll take and wrap this around the bread. And then I have these little stickers here that say homemade with love, and you can put the date and what the pumpkin bread on the sticker. And then we'll just put the sticker on right there in the center. And that is ready to give away to friends, neighbors, teachers. And if you don't have the cute checkered wax paper, which I can put a link for this one in the description box, if you don't have that, you can use regular white or brown parchment paper. Again, we'll just fold that in half. And then about half again. And then take your pumpkin bread. This one has walnuts on it, so pretty. And again, just wrap that around. Use our little sticker here. And that is ready to go. Thanks so much for joining us on Marie's Kitchen. Today we made these easy and delicious pumpkin bread that are a little more nutritious. I really hope you get to try them. If you do, be sure to let me know in the comments. I can't wait to hear from you. If you like this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up. It means so much to me and also to YouTube. That's how they decide who else sees this video and if my channel's worth watching. So please take a minute and hit that thumbs up button. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe. I've got lots more videos coming up with easy recipes just like this, and I don't want you to miss any of them. For this recipe and more, head over to my website, marieseva.com. There you can print out this recipe and all my recipes, put them in a notebook, and make your very own Marie's Kitchen cookbook for free. My goal is to give you some really easy recipes that turn out great every time so you can build some confidence in the kitchen and feel really inspired to share good food with people that you love. From my kitchen to yours, thank you.